5 or 6 weeks ago, we did a couple of videos about travel from Canada across the border, problems that some travelers have had, could have. A lot of big crackdown at the border being reported in some of the news media. Huge stories. We had between two of them. I think we did over 300 or 400,000 views. But I wanted to do a bit of an update because there was a point in one of the interviews with Ken Scott, who's a Surrey, BC-based immigration law intelligence analyst. He calls himself, and he helps Canadians who are wanting to get into the U.S. for one reason or another. And he brought up a point. I'm going to get to it in just a moment, but I also came across a Bloomberg news article that I thought had some very interesting information. For example, did you know that Canadians made 39 million trips to the U.S. last year? I mean, there's only 40 million of us. I know some of you went more than once. It's fine. I did too when I lived in White Rock near the border in BC. But that's a lot of trips. And in fact, we make up 28% of all travel to the U.S. and that far greater than any other country, as you can see by the graphic from Bloomberg. But here's one of the things. A lot of viewers commented on the videos that they had been in and had no problem at all. And they passed through. It was just like regular, no problem for them. Ken Scott had an answer for that, actually, because apparently there have been very restrictive laws, or laws that allow the U.S. border guards a lot of latitude in how they treat you. And over the years it got kind of lax. There wasn't a lot. It didn't have a lot of incidents at the border, and things were interpreted rather liberally, we'll say, just relaxed. And when Donald Trump became president on January 20th, he sent an explicit order to start extreme vetting, basically work to rule, if you think of it that way, where all of those rules that had not been enforced before were suddenly now enforced with great vigor. And so you could get pulled out and you surrender your device or you could be detained, or you could get a 5-year denied entry for 5 years, that kind of stuff. And I think that's the part that got missed in by many of our viewers, is the extreme vetting. If you didn't get pulled out for extreme vetting, then it's no big deal. I mean, it's just like another trip for you. But there are a lot of Canadians who would get caught. And let me give you an example. Canada has obviously issued a warning about travel to the U.S., but so Ireland, Denmark, and Netherlands set a warning to transgender and non-binary residents, because apparently Donald Trump has issued an executive order recognizing only two genders, male and female. And if you don't identify that way and you come across the border and you say you're transgender, let's just say, and that then could be deemed suspicious, and they could pull you over and under the extreme vetting guideline and detain you for a while, or maybe deny you entry. Who knows? But I think that's the key here. Is that great if you're like me? You're a middle-aged white guy, and you don't have a criminal record, and I think I look pretty innocent. Well, if not innocent, at least harmless. But what happens if you come from, you're a Canadian citizen, but your family is originally from someplace that, Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or someplace that the Americans deemed suspicious? Does that mean that you're going to get pulled over? I've had a number of my friends who come from places like India and Trinidad and Tobago who say that, they've been under closer scrutiny and they're really worried about going it's hard enough at the best of times, they say, but now they're worried that it'll even be harder. They just avoid the place like a plague. As a journalist, I can tell you, I will not give up my phone because I've got all kinds of stuff on there that is none of their business, pertains to our journalism, and a lot of stuff critical of Trump. Would I get pulled over? Would I get denied entry? Who knows? I'm just not even going to risk it. So it's the extreme vetting that is the issue here, and you can decide for yourself whether that might or might not apply to you. You can even get hold of Ken Scott in Surrey, BC, and maybe ask him a question. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you. But don't think that just because you got through once or maybe many times since January 20th, who knows, that this isn't a problem for other Canadians. It certainly is.